A beautiful young woman stopped me on the street outside Miller's grocery, her eyes red from crying. "Your wife is cheating on you with my father while my mother is sick," she said, then pulled out her phone to show me shocking photos. I stared at the images of Mira entering a lakeside cabin with some man, laughing and touching his arm intimately. "They'll pay for this, I promise," I told her, my voice surprisingly calm despite the earthquake happening inside my chest. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. My name is Darren Cole, and I'm 44 years old. I work as an insurance adjuster, which means I'm pretty good at spotting lies and gathering evidence. The young woman introduced herself as Leah Turner, 22, who worked as a barista downtown. Her father was Colin Turner, 52, a traveling contractor who apparently had plenty of time to travel to my wife's bed. "How long has this been going on?" I asked Leah, still staring at the photos on her phone. "3 months that I know of," she replied, wiping her nose with a tissue. "Maybe longer. My mom's been bedridden with cancer treatments, and he's been taking these mysterious work trips every weekend. Then I saw him with your wife at the hardware store last Tuesday acting like teenagers." I handed her phone back, my hands surprisingly steady. "Can you send me those photos?" "Already did," she said, showing me she'd texted them to my number. "There's more where those came from. I've been following them for 2 weeks." The walk home felt like swimming through concrete. Every step reminded me of the signs I'd ignored. Mira's sudden weekend inventory trips for her boutique. The expensive clothes she claimed were samples from vendors. Her constant defensiveness whenever I asked simple questions about her day. Just last week, she'd snapped at me for asking why she was home so late, muttering something about, "Some men actually know how to treat a woman." I should have seen it coming. When I got home, Mira was in the kitchen, humming while she made dinner. She looked beautiful in her new silk blouse, another sample, no doubt. Her dark hair was perfectly styled, and she wore makeup even though she'd supposedly spent the day doing inventory. "How was your day, honey?" she asked without looking up from the stove. "Enlightening," I replied, watching her carefully. "Learned some interesting things about trust and marriage." She glanced at me with a slight frown. "You're being weird, Darren. Did something happen at work?" "You could say that." I pulled out my phone and scrolled to Leah's photos. "Want to tell me about your inventory trips?" The color drained from her face as she saw the screen. For a moment, she looked like she might faint. Then her expression hardened into something I'd never seen before, cold and calculating. "I don't know what you think you saw, but—" "I saw my wife entering a cabin with another man," I interrupted. "Multiple times, with timestamps and dates that match your supposed business trips." Mira turned off the stove and faced me fully. "Darren, listen. It's not what you think. Colin is helping me with some business opportunities. The cabin belongs to a potential investor who—" "Stop." I held up my hand. "Just stop lying. I know exactly what this is." Her facade cracked completely. "Fine. Yes, I've been seeing Colin. But can you blame me? When was the last time you took me somewhere nice? When did you last buy me flowers or tell me I was beautiful? Colin makes me feel alive again. While his wife is fading of cancer." "That's not my problem," she snapped. "I deserve to be happy, Darren. I deserve more than this boring life with your boring job and your boring conversations about insurance claims." I stared at my wife of 12 years and realized I was looking at a stranger. "You're right about one thing, Mira. You do deserve what's coming to you." That night, I slept in the guest room and started planning. By morning, I had a strategy that would make my insurance investigation training look like amateur hour. First, I called Leah and arranged to meet her at her coffee shop downtown. The place was called Grind Coffee, and it had that hipster vibe with exposed brick walls and local art. Leah looked exhausted but determined when she handed me a large coffee. I've been thinking about this all night, she said, sliding into the booth across from me. I want to help you take them both down. Why? I asked. I mean, I understand you're angry about your father, but why help a stranger? Her eyes hardened. Because my mom is fighting for her life, and she still asks about him every day. She still believes he's working extra hours to pay for her treatments. Meanwhile, he's spending money on hotel rooms and expensive dinners with your wife. She pulled out a notebook filled with dates, times, and locations. I've been documenting everything. Here's when they met at the Riverside Inn. Here's the receipt I found in his truck from Victoria's Secret. He definitely didn't buy my fading mother lingerie. And here's a photo of them at Romano's restaurant last Friday when he told my mom he was working late. I was impressed by her thoroughness. You've been busy. I want justice, she said simply. And I want my mom to know the truth before she doesn't have time to make her own choices about their marriage. We spent the next 2 hours comparing evidence and planning our approach. Leah had access to Colin's credit card statements through their family account, since she helped manage her mother's medical bills. I had access to our joint bank account and could track Mira's spending patterns. The picture that emerged was damning. Every weekend inventory trip coincided with charges on Colin's card for hotels, restaurants, and gifts. Mira had been draining our savings account for what she claimed were business expenses, but the amounts and timing matched perfectly with their affair schedule. Here's what we're going to do, I told Leah. We're going to give them exactly what they deserve: complete exposure and total consequences. Step 1 was gathering more evidence. I installed a tracking app on our shared tablet, which Mira used for her boutique business. Within hours, I hit the jackpot: a group chat between Mira and her friend Jenna, where they discussed the affair in explicit detail. The messages made my stomach turn. Mira described Colin as passionate and attentive, while mocking me as boring and clueless. But the most revealing part was when she wrote, Colin thinks I'm going to leave Darren for him, but honestly, I just want the excitement. Darren has the steady income and the house. Colin's just for fun. She was playing both of us. Jenna's responses were equally disgusting. You're so bad. But seriously, how long can you keep this up? What if Darren finds out? Mira's reply, Darren's too trusting and too boring to ever suspect anything. He barely pays attention to me anymore. I screenshotted everything and sent copies to Leah. Step 2 was financial warfare. I quietly consulted with a divorce attorney named Patricia Rainier, who reviewed all my evidence with professional interest. This is quite comprehensive, she said, adjusting her glasses. The misuse of joint funds for an extramarital affair gives us significant leverage. We can file for divorce and request an immediate freeze on joint accounts to prevent further asset dissipation. How quickly can we move? I asked. I can file the papers today if you're ready. Given the evidence of financial misconduct, we can request an emergency hearing within the week. Do it. Step 3 was the most satisfying. While I was setting legal wheels in motion, Leah was working on Colin's side of the equation. She printed out every piece of evidence we'd gathered and prepared a package for her mother. I'm going to tell her everything, Leah said when she called me that evening. She deserves to know before she makes any more decisions about her treatment or their marriage. Are you sure she's strong enough for this news? She's stronger than my father thinks, Leah replied grimly, and she's going to be furious. The next morning, everything exploded at once. I served Mira with divorce papers at her boutique, right in front of her assistant and 2 customers. The sheriff's deputy was professional but firm, explaining that our joint accounts were frozen pending the divorce proceedings. Mira's face went through several expressions: confusion, shock, anger, and finally panic. Darren, what are you doing? We can work this out. Read the papers, I said calmly. Everything's explained in detail, including the financial records and the evidence of your affair. 20 minutes later, Leah called me. It's done. I showed my mom everything. She's not taking it well. That was an understatement. Within an hour, Colin's wife Sarah had called every family member, friend, and neighbor she could think of. By noon, Colin was getting angry phone calls from his brother, his boss, and his pastor. But the real fireworks started when Sarah Turner, despite being weak from chemotherapy, got dressed and drove herself to Mira's boutique. I happened to be across the street at the bank, dealing with account paperwork, when I saw a frail woman in a headscarf march into Mira's boutique with the determination of an avenging angel. Through the large front windows, I watched Sarah confront my wife in front of a store full of customers. Even from across the street, I could see Mira's face go white as Sarah began speaking. The conversation quickly escalated, with Sarah's voice rising loud enough that people on the sidewalk started stopping to listen. One customer pulled out her phone and started recording as Sarah Turner, cancer patient and betrayed wife, delivered what appeared to be the verbal assault of the century. Mira tried to retreat behind the counter, but Sarah followed, gesturing emphatically and pointing her finger in Mira's face. The coup de grace came when Sarah pulled out printed copies of the group chat messages and began reading them aloud. Even from across the street, I could see customers gasping and covering their mouths in shock. By the time Sarah stormed out of the boutique, half the customers had left, and the other half were huddled together gossiping. The woman who'd been recording was already posting to social media. My phone rang 5 minutes later. "Darren, please, you have to help me," Mira sobbed into the phone. "This is all a misunderstanding. Sarah Turner just humiliated me in front of everyone. She's telling lies about me and Colin." "Are they lies?" I asked calmly. "That's not the point. She's ruining my business. People are already calling and canceling orders. Someone posted a video online and it's going viral. You have to make this stop." "I can't make anything stop, Mira. You made your choices." "But I love you," she cried. "I made a mistake, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling. I'll end things with Colin right now." Too late for that. Colin's already gotten his own news. While Sarah was destroying Mira's reputation, Leah had been busy with phase 2 of Colin's downfall. She'd sent copies of all our evidence to Colin's employer, his family, and his church. She'd also forwarded him the screenshots of Mira's group chat, particularly the messages where Mira mocked him and admitted she was just using him for excitement. Colin had apparently tried calling Mira's boutique during Sarah's visit, but Mira was too busy dealing with the public humiliation to answer. So he'd driven over to confront her in person, arriving just as the last customers were leaving and the social media storm was beginning. I didn't witness their confrontation directly, but according to Leah, who heard about it from her mother, Colin was devastated to learn that Mira had been mocking him to her friends and had never intended to leave me for him. The affair that had seemed so passionate and meaningful to him was revealed as nothing more than a bored housewife's entertainment. By evening, both Colin and Mira had lost almost everything that mattered to them. Colin's wife had filed for divorce and kicked him out of their house. His employer had suspended him pending an investigation into whether he'd been falsifying work trips. His church had asked him to step down from the board of deacons. Mira's boutique had lost 6 major orders by closing time, and her landlord had called to discuss the frozen bank accounts and her ability to make rent. The viral video of Sarah's confrontation had been shared hundreds of times, with comments ranging from supportive of Sarah to absolutely brutal toward Mira. But I wasn't done yet. The final phase came a week later, at our emergency divorce hearing. Patricia Rainier had done her homework, presenting a comprehensive case that painted Mira as financially irresponsible and morally bankrupt. "Your Honor," Patricia said, "Mrs. Cole systematically drained the couple's joint savings account to fund an extramarital affair, lying to her husband about business expenses while spending thousands of dollars on hotels, restaurants, and gifts for her lover. She has shown a complete disregard for the financial security of the marriage and has demonstrated that she cannot be trusted with joint assets." Mira's hastily hired lawyer tried to argue for a 50-50 split of assets, but the evidence was overwhelming. The judge reviewed the bank statements, the receipts, the photos, and the screenshots of Mira's own admissions. Mrs. Cole, the judge said sternly, you have violated the fundamental trust of marriage and misused marital funds for personal gratification. I am awarding Mr. Cole the house, the majority of the savings account, and his retirement funds. You will be responsible for your own legal fees and any debts associated with your business. Mira sobbed as the gavel came down, but I felt nothing but relief. The aftermath was swift and brutal. Mira's boutique closed within a month when she couldn't make rent or pay her suppliers. She moved in with her sister in another state, effectively disappearing from our social circle overnight. Colin's life imploded even more dramatically. His wife divorced him and took half of everything, including his tools and work truck. His employer fired him when they discovered he'd been billing personal trips as business expenses. He ended up moving to a different state to find work, leaving behind his fading wife and his daughter who refused to speak to him. 3 months after Leah stopped me outside the grocery store, I was sitting in my house now, having coffee and reading the newspaper when my phone rang. Mr. Cole, this is Leah Turner. I wanted to call and thank you. Thank me? You're the one who started all this. My mom passed away last week, she said quietly. But before she passed, she told me she was grateful to know the truth. She said it allowed her to spend her last months focused on the people who actually loved her, instead of worrying about a man who didn't deserve her. I was quiet for a moment. I'm sorry for your loss, Leah. Thank you. But I wanted you to know. She changed her will. She left everything to me and my brother, and she wrote a letter explaining exactly why my father got nothing. She said cheaters don't deserve to inherit from the people they betrayed. After we hung up, I sat in my quiet house and reflected on the past few months. I'd lost a wife, but I'd gained something more valuable. The knowledge that I was stronger than I'd ever realized, and that justice, while sometimes delayed, could be absolutely devastating when it finally arrived. Mira had wanted excitement and passion. Instead, she got public humiliation and financial ruin. Colin had wanted a younger woman and a secret life. Instead, he lost his family, his job, and his reputation. As for me, I got my life back, along with a valuable lesson. Sometimes the most boring guy in the room is the one you should never underestimate.